Hey, welcome back. On my way home, and there's a lovely sunset. It's kind of warm outside today. Makes me have hope for spring coming up, but I know that we're supposed to get a huge wintry slush and snow mix over the next couple days. So it's coming for me. But that's not what we're here to talk about. So let's jump into what we are here to talk about today, which is my reaction to a recent video from fellow YouTube creator Graham Stephan. And what I want to do is just kind of go over this video, what it says, and whether I agree or disagree or some combination of those two things, and why, and then what I would do instead based on what he said. I think it's important to note we are not attacking Graham Stephan today. I really enjoy his channel. I think he makes personal finance really easy to understand, and he gives some great advice for people who are building wealth. That doesn't mean I agree with everything he says, and I think there is room in this world for lots of different views on finance, on religion, on lots of other things, politics, and I think you can amicably disagree on a lot of things and still be quite pleasant to each other. So this is not an attack, and in fact I will continue to follow his videos and take what advice applies to me. And I would suggest you do the same. He's got an awesome channel. His videos are great quality and very informative. So who is Graham Stephan? If you don't know who that is, he is a very well-known creator on YouTube. He has over 1 million subscribers. He was a millionaire at 26. He lives in Los Angeles, California, and is very well known for being very frugal. He has a very popular video about how he makes coffee, his daily coffee, for 20 cents a day, his daily iced coffee, instead of hitting up Starbucks for $5, $5 to $6 a pop for iced coffee. Let's see my notes here. He began building his wealth very early. Like I said, he was a millionaire by the age of 26. He started, I believe, when he was 18 as someone in real estate, an agent in real estate, and that's how he made his money. He's also invested in the stock market and owns a couple of other businesses, his YouTube channel, as well as a coffee business, and probably some more that I don't know about. I think I mentioned he is not married to my knowledge and has no kids, which I think is important because coming from a very different walk of life than him, I was not wealthy early on. I did not build wealth early on. I am just now getting started at 32, and I have a family. I have a husband and children that I have to consider when I am looking out for my finances, because I can't just make decisions based on me. I have to make decisions based on our whole family and what the best walk is for us, what the best path is for us. So let's just jump into his video, because I think that's where the real meat of this video is. It is, take a look at the title. What everyone needs to do with their money ASAP. And I don't like the title. I don't like the title because I think that it gives a sense of urgency, and a sense of panic. And we know what happens when you spend money in a panic or make money decisions in a panic or in a hurry when you're not ready to. And that is, you fail, right? Panic is what causes recessions and depressions, or partly. Panic is what caused partly the Great Depression. And I think that equalizing panic with your money-making decisions is not a good way to go. I also don't like the fact that the term everyone is capitalized, as if you and I are both the same when it comes to our money, because we're not. Everyone has completely unique circumstances to themselves, and based on that, you're going to make your decisions in a completely unique way. You also have a completely unique money personality, and I think that lumping everyone into this category of this is what you need to do, then I think that's a poor decision. I understand it is there to get more viewers. It is probably SEO optimized to attract Graham Stephan's base audience, his target audience, but I don't like it. I just don't like it. And nothing wrong with that, right? I think it could be more accurately titled, like how to build wealth from $0 in 2022, step by step. That probably isn't as catchy of a title, but I think it would be more accurate to the content. Because I don't really see him pressing the matter that everybody needs to do this, or it is essential that you do this right now. Take these off now that the sun's going down. Okay, so what does he say in this video? Now that we've gone over the title, what does he say? The first point is reduce spending, especially discretionary spending. And what he does is he kind of lumps, he encourages you to lump your mandatory spending and discretionary spending. And that's the two buckets you can put your money into, your spending. And I don't like that method starting off the gate. I promise there are some things in this video I really do like, but I don't like this method because whenever you have two buckets, your brain automatically paints one as good and one as bad. Correlation is how we make sense of the world, right? You don't know what light is without dark. You don't know what good is without bad. You don't know what happy is without sad. So when we have those two buckets, we automatically pit them as opposites against each other. And one has to be good and one has to be bad. And I would argue that discretionary spending is just as important as mandatory spending. I would also argue that my discretionary spending and what is mandatory to me, what is essential for my mental, physical, and emotional health is not going to be what is essential to Graham Stephan's mental, physical, and emotional health. So I don't think there's much room for wiggle in there. And I think that it can really discourage people who are like me and have come from this scarcity mindset that you have to cut in order to be a wealthy individual. And I really don't think that's a great mindset to be in, because when you're in scarcity or survival mode, you are not in a place where you are willing to invest your money and make it into something more than it is. You kind of hoard it and protect it, and you don't let it out of your sight. So that's one thing I didn't like. He equates your discretionary spending as going on a personal finance diet. And I get where he's coming with this, but in the sense that he's telling you to cut and eliminate from your budget, I understand there are some things that you probably could cut out if you're starting from ground zero. If you're in trouble with your money, there probably are a lot of things that you could cut out. Heck, there's things in my budget that I could probably cut out. But like I said, my mandatory spending and your mandatory spending are not going to be exactly the same. And we all know what happens when you go on a diet and you completely eliminate sugar. You start getting cravings, 3 days later. I think day 3 is usually the hardest. And then at some point, you get tired of eating vegetables. You get tired of counting calories. You get tired of doing the same thing that's just no fun day in and day out, and you splurge one day, and then you feel really guilty about it because you're not supposed to do that, because it's supposed to be cut out, right? And then it creates this whole emotional dynamic with cutting out and guilt that's not healthy in any category, diet or in finance. He says to spend as little as possible, save and invest the rest. I have a big problem with this one because of the reasons I've already said. Also because it doesn't give you any place to go from there. It doesn't tell you how to save and invest. And he does touch on these a little bit later in this video. This is the very beginning of the video. But he doesn't give you a structure anywhere in this video for where your income, how much of your income could go toward these things and how much you could spend on mandatory versus discretionary spending. There is no reward for yourself when you're doing well, so there's no incentive. There's no vision for what you're working toward. And for me, as a big picture person, that vision is real important. That vision, that goal is what keeps me moving. And without purpose, you kind of just get lost. And what are you working toward if you have no purpose, right? And a lot of people need that, including myself. Also, he doesn't mention spending relative to income. Obviously, I have a lot lower income than Graham Stephan has. He lives in LA. He is a full-time YouTube creator. He has a couple businesses under his belt. He's invested in real estate, and I'm just starting out doing some of these things. But I guarantee that he spends a lot more money per month than I do. And he should, because he has the income to cover it. But he doesn't mention that in this video. He doesn't mention how long it's going to be before you can let up your spending, or if you should just live on this cut budget for the rest of your life. He doesn't mention that he himself uses his spending for discretionary items and happily does so because he should. Because that's the fun in having money, right? Is when you get to spend it on a little something extra. There was a CNBC article that I found that says he has a $45,000 fish tank when you walk into his home. And that's cool. If fish is what you like to do, then spend your money on putting that $45,000 fish tank in. That's more money than I make in a year, guys. So that's not something I'm going to be doing anytime soon. Maybe one day when I'm making a lot of money, I will do something similar to that. I'll spend $45,000 on plants because I really like plants. But as of right now, I can't do that. But he doesn't mention this correlation between income and discretionary spending. He just says cut everything you can and save and invest the rest. He also has a pool at his house, according to that CNBC article. And that's an expense that I'm not willing to put on. Well, I mean, I live in Ohio where a pool is only useful 3 months out of the year. But still, if I lived in LA and I had a proportionate income to what I have now, I would not be spending money on a pool. He has the money, so he does. But like I said, he kind of fails to mention that aspect of finances, is that when your income goes up, your discretionary spending can easily go up too. All right, let's move on because I'm almost home. He says to start saving in an emergency fund. This I wholeheartedly agree with. There are a lot of people who say that you put out as minimal of an emergency fund as possible, but I disagree with that. Graham Stephan didn't say that. That's one of Dave Ramsey's views, to save $1,000 for your emergency fund and to put the rest toward debt. But what I prefer is a little bit more of a cushion, because I think that security gives you kind of this peace of mind to go forward into other investments. And I think that's important to have if you're looking to build wealth. He also says you can put it in a high yield savings account, and that it's his preferred way to save his emergency savings. I agree with that. I put ours in Ally Bank, just like he mentions in this video, and I have been nothing but pleased with their customer service and with how they do things and the returns on my money. Your emergency savings isn't to make money. It is there just to bail you out in the case that you actually need some liquid cash. And should be 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. I'm not there yet, guys. I just saved $2,000 in our emergency fund, if I'm being totally transparent, which is enough to cover our deductibles on our insurance. And I'm looking forward to getting to 1 month's worth of savings, and then our next goal would be 2 months worth of savings, and then 3 months worth of savings. So we're not there yet, but we're getting there, a little bit at a time. He also mentions stablecoin, which is how some people that he said he knows put their emergency fund in. And I don't think that I would recommend that. I don't think that he recommends it either. And the only reason I see that he brings it up really is to kind of tell you the risks involved with it. So I kind of wouldn't have mentioned that at all if it was my video, but it's not my video. So he does mention it, and he does tell you the risks about it. So just be wary of that. The next point he makes is to monitor your income. And by monitor, he says maintain or increase if at all possible. I have a little bit of a beef with him talking about this because I don't know his past, and he may have, but it doesn't seem to me like he's had any kind of job that's traditional in the sense of you go to work and you get a paycheck every week or every 2 weeks. I don't know that to be true, but he just gives some really vague advice, like cozy up to your boss and have the best relationship with them as possible. Make yourself indispensable. Take on more responsibilities. And those are, I'm not sure that's the best advice. Yes, your job is important, but if you are looking on to bigger and better things, taking on more responsibility at your primary job may not be the answer for you. I just think that it is very one-sided to say that that's what you should do. And take on side hustles is another point he gives. And maybe he would be able to do that as a person who maybe doesn't have any family or kids, a spouse, that kind of thing. But I would not be able to do that. I'm making this YouTube video as I drive home because once my feet hit that floor, there is no time for anything else. I spend 40 hours a week at my job. The rest of my time I spend on my family, on my household. There is just no time. If you have those responsibilities, you probably know what I'm talking about. But I just kind of disagree with the way he presents that, like it's available to everybody. And I don't think those things may be available to everybody. He says to consistently invest into the markets. I sort of agree with this. So I do agree in the fact that research has shown that the best way to get a good return on the stock market is not to do the day trading that people do to try and time the market, but instead to consistently invest the same amount or whatever amount you want over the long haul, right? And I'm putting this to the test, honestly. And this is why I only sort of agree with it. I've been doing this for 10 weeks with a very small amount of money, $5 a week. So $50 invested in the market. And as of the last time I checked, my account is worth a grand total of $47. So I've put in 50, but I've not gotten 50 out of it yet. And obviously, you gotta wait for the long haul, but how long do you have to wait? Because I'd really like to start making some money today, wouldn't you? So yeah. He also just gives the stock market as an example. He doesn't say that you can invest in a lot of other things, which is, real estate, which is you can invest in a business that you're building. All of those things are important too, and those are things that he doesn't mention here. He says next to maximize your money using a Roth IRA or 401k. I disagree with that. Kind of 100%, because I'd rather have the money in my pocket as someone who doesn't have a lot of cash flow available to her. I'd rather have that money in my pocket to use on other investments. Now, my one exception might be if you have the extra cash flow available to you to put money in your 401k up to your company's match, because it's free money. If your company is matching up to that percentage, you're getting 100% return on your investment because they are doubling what you put in. And if you have the extra cash flow, that's fine. That's cool. And I would do it if I had it, but I don't. So I don't. And I think that people don't understand 401ks as much as they think they do. They don't understand Roth IRAs as much as they think they do. And they believe that it's going to be their sole source of income when they retire, when it's not intended to do that, and it really won't. When you put 10% of your income into a Roth IRA and then expect to live off 100% of that when you retire for the next 30 years of your life, then it's just, the math does not work out. He also mentions HSAs, which I kind of agree with. I think the HSAs are valuable because it's like getting a coupon on something you were already going to buy. So you get to use money tax-free on healthcare expenses that you're probably going to use anyway at some point in your life. What I wouldn't agree with is overfunding this account, and that's not something he suggests, but lots of people do this. They overfund the account so that it can be invested in the stock market, and I wouldn't do that. Let your HSA do what your HSA is supposed to do and pay for your healthcare expenses. Don't let it become another source of the stock market investment, because you could just as easily put it into a company that you manage, a stock market fund that you manage and that you know something about, if that's what you are interested in learning it about, and you would get a lot better return because you understand it, if that's part of who you are as an investor. Next point that he makes is where to invest. He suggests a small portion in cash, and I agree with that. You need a very small portion in cash, but he specifically says in order to take advantage of very quick buying opportunities. And it's true, you do have an advantage when you have cash, especially if you're looking to buy a house. Think of the advantage you have in saying, hey, I can pay this today, versus somebody who has to go back to their lender and get qualified and approved and all of that good stuff. He next says index funds, which is the stock market. I don't understand a lot of the stock market, so that's not where I put a lot of my money, and that's not where I plan to do a lot of my investing, because I don't have the time to keep up with it. And I think that lots of people are speculative about the stock market. You can but you have a chance of being just as much chance of being wrong as you do of being right. I don't understand it. I don't want to put the time and energy into understanding it, so it's not where I plan to invest that. My views may change in the future. We'll see. he says crypto can be a good investment. And I, again, don't understand crypto, so I don't put money into it. Then he says a very important thing to do is diversify. And I think if you have enough money, this is good advice. But if you are just starting out, if you're someone like me who doesn't have a lot of cash flow to begin with, then diversifying may not be the best idea for you, because there is a very, very strong, powerful thing that comes with focus. And when you can focus in on doing one thing at a time, it happens so much faster than if you are spreading yourself over a bunch of different goals, right? If you have a goal, if you work on one goal at a time, you get that goal done so fast that you can't even believe it. But if you are spreading yourself and trying to do 8 things at once, you don't complete any of them in the time that you thought it would take, because you're trying to do 8 things at once. So I kind of disagree with that point. That was the end of the video, and like I said, I thought it was a great video. I thought there were a lot of great points to discuss, because where Graham Stephan comes from, his spending personality, his lifestyle, those points all work for him and his followers. If you are young and single and someone who is looking to succeed in the markets that he invests in, then he is a great person to take advice from. But just know that if you are in a different walk of life, or if you're in a different place in your life, then you may need to take some different advice. And I'm not saying take mine, because I'm not a financial advisor, but I would do some things differently than him, and that is okay. I'm home now, so we're going to end this video here. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give a thumbs up if you do. Please let me know in the comments below if you liked the video. Go and watch his video, watch mine, and let me know what you think of his video and of my evaluation. And I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.